As CEO of SpaceX, Elon Musk has yet again stunned the entire world with another incredible discovery by leaking what the Soviet probe found on Venus. What have the Russians discovered on Venus? Why should we trust the data that was collected? Is there a need for America's NASA and SpaceX to send some spacecrafts to this planet? And after Mars, will Musk take us to Venus? Join me today in this video where we will explore how Elon Musk has just leaked what the Soviet probe found on Venus. With an average temperature of 847 degrees Fahrenheit, Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. Hot enough to melt lead, in fact. However, the Soviet Union sent a probe that could withstand these temperatures and return data that completely changed the rules. Humans have been venturing into space for a very long time in search of alien life and planets that might be suitable for human habitation. This endeavor is motivated by the question of whether or not other sentient life exists in the universe. However, there has never been and continues to be no physical evidence that life exists anywhere other than Earth. Despite this, many scientists believe aliens could exist in the universe. Philosophical and physical theories have influenced scientific theories that attempt to explain why life could have evolved anywhere else in the universe. Astronauts from NASA, SpaceX, and the former Soviet Union have been working long hours to learn everything there is to know about our universe. Elon Musk, an American entrepreneur and billionaire, is a well-known figure in the field of space travel. His company SpaceX was founded on March 14, 2002, ushering in a new era of astounding space discoveries and the advent of commercial space travel. Musk has dedicated his life to ensuring the safety and comfort of all people on Earth so that they can prosper. Elon believes in the possibility of habitable universes and/or the possibility of altering existing universe conditions to make them more conducive to human survival. He spent a long time researching the possibility that Mars was such a place before settling on that theory. That is why he embarked on a mission to establish a Martian settlement before the year 2050. This fact, however, did not deter him from exploring the universe's vastness and complexity in search of new habitable planets. During his research, he discovered information about Venus, our nearest planetary neighbor, that will likely make you rethink everything you thought you knew about it. Venus is the closest planet to Earth and the second planet from the Sun, according to our current understanding. Because of its size and density, many people believe it is Earth's twin. This is the closest of the 4 terrestrial planets to the Sun. However, there are significant differences between these two worlds. They couldn't be more dissimilar, in fact. Venus is surrounded by a thick, poisonous atmosphere of carbon dioxide, and it is always shrouded in a thick yellowish cloud of sulfuric acid. Because these clouds act as a greenhouse, the temperature rises uncontrollably. Venus, like Mercury, is a close planet to the Sun, and its thick atmosphere acts as a heat sink, causing the greenhouse effect to go into overdrive and making Venus the hottest planet in the solar system. It has a rusty appearance and is pocked with massive volcanoes and mountains that appear to be crunched into it. Scientists believe that some volcanoes are still active. To put it another way, Venus is a completely different planet from our own. The fact that life can be found on Earth but not on Venus is one of the planet's most obvious distinctions from one another. The air pressure on the surface of Venus is more than 90 times higher than the air pressure on the surface of Earth, and it's roughly equivalent to the pressure you would feel 1 mile below the surface of the ocean here on Earth. In contrast to the vast majority of other planets in our solar system, Venus rotates in the opposite direction, clockwise. This makes Venus one of a kind among the planets. Again, this is yet another important distinction that can be drawn between the planet Venus and our own. On Venus, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, while on Earth, the opposite is true. On Venus, everything operates in reverse from the way it does on Earth. On December 14, 1962, the NASA probe Mariner 2 successfully scanned the cloudy surface of Venus. Venus became the first planet to be studied by a spacecraft as a result of this success. Since then, numerous spacecraft from the United States and other space agencies have visited Venus. One of these was the NASA Magellan probe, which created radar maps of the Earth's surface. The most successful landings on Venus' surface were made by a Russian spacecraft, but they did not last long due to the planet's extreme temperature and pressure. In 1978, one of the United States Pioneer Venus multiprobes collided with the planet's surface, but it continued to function for about an hour. The Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency's Akatsuki Venus Climate Orbiter and the European Space Agency's Venus Express are 2 recent Venus missions. NASA's Parker Solar Probe completed several flybys of Venus without incident. Following the successful flyby of Venus by the spacecraft in February 2021, NASA announced on February 9, 2022 that the spacecraft had taken visible light photographs of Venus's surface from space. The number of groups actively engaged in Venus exploration has increased in recent years. Rocket Lab, a launch vehicle manufacturer, recently announced a partnership with MIT to launch the first privately funded mission to Venus in May 2023. Because of the Direct Entry's probe limited size, only one instrument weighing up to 1 kilogram can be brought on the mission. Another possible launch window is in January 2025. The investigation's primary goal is to confirm reports of organic compounds in the cloud layer, which could indicate the presence of life in the past or present. Given the planet's scorching temperatures, it is unthinkable that life could exist on Venus. But guess what? A Soviet space probe investigated the planet and found evidence that it could support life. Indeed, it was this aspect in particular that piqued the world's wealthiest man's interest. Venera 7, a Soviet spacecraft, was one of several probes launched to Venus as part of the Venera program. On December 15, 1970, the spacecraft became the first to gently land on another planet when it touched down on Venus's surface. Furthermore, this was the first time information was transmitted from Venus to Earth. Despite landing on Venus, only a portion of the flight program from the Venera 7 station was carried out. Fortunately enough, the device landed on the side of Venus that faces the night sky. Because the telemetry switch failed, the only data collected was the temperature of Venus's atmosphere during the descent phase, and in the vicinity of the surface. Subsequent investigation into Venera 13 just revealed that there is more going on than was previously thought. Phosphine, discovered on Venus, was a poisonous and flammable gas that kills all forms of life that requires oxygen to survive. This discovery sparked speculation that something poisonous could be floating in Venus's clouds. A team of researchers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Cardiff University in Wales made this discovery and announced it. Despite the controversy, scientists who announced today that they had detected this poisonous gas in Venus's atmosphere believe it could be tantalizing evidence of life on Venus. To the best of our knowledge, phosphine can only be produced by living things on rocky planets like Venus and Earth, whether humans or microbes. During World War I, phosphine was used as a poisonous gas, although meth lab waste is particularly repulsive. It is also used as a fumigant in modern agriculture and the semiconductor industry. Some anaerobic bacteria, such as those found in garbage dumps, wetlands, and animal guts, produce phosphine naturally. Scientists speculated earlier this year, 2022, that finding the chemical on the other terrestrial planets could be proof of alien metabolisms. The researchers proposed looking for gas in the atmospheres of distant exoplanets with the most advanced telescopes available in the future. The second rock in our solar system is gaining popularity as a potential past and present home for extraterrestrial life. Researchers are planning missions to Venus in the hopes of learning more about the planet's habitability and possibility of finding signs of life in the thick clouds that cover the planet's surface. Because phosphine is typically produced by living organisms on Earth, its discovery sparked great interest. As a result, the discovery of phosphine as a new chemical compound was a significant event. However, the Venus phosphine claim continues to be hotly debated. A variety of teams are currently investigating Venus's potential as a habitable planet. Indeed, scientists are considering sending a mission to the alien planet to collect atmospheric samples for analysis on Earth. As far as we can tell, Rocket Lab is keen on discovering signs of life on Venus. They have budgeted tens of billions of dollars for the project, which is a significant sum. There is so much we don't know about Venus, despite the fact that it is such an amazing and intricate system. In addition to being a planet that is vastly different from ours, there has also certainly been an ocean there billions of years ago. And it most likely still exists today, Gilmore, a Wesleyan University member, claimed. It's just a matter of going. We now have the means to investigate Venus up close and personally. It's certainly not completely out of the question. However, it is possible that Rocket Labs is considering Venus at the same time that Elon Musk is working to establish a colony on Mars. As for the future, only time will tell. Do you think it is time that NASA and SpaceX started exploring Venus after Musk revelations about the Soviet probe on the planet?
The issue is like the company's either going to go bankrupt, or if we do not cut costs immediately. This is not a uncaring situation. It's like if the whole ship sinks, then nobody's going to drive.
I think the risk, civilizational risk, is decreased if Twitter, the more we can increase the trust of Twitter as a public platform. Because there is a huge problem with spam and bots and trolls on Twitter, and organizations trying to manipulate public opinion, and just generally making the system worse. But I think that there is an answer to that, which is to get as many regular users of Twitter to be a subscriber for $8 a month. And you'll get a lot more than just the blue check mark for $8 a month, because now we can afford long-form video, long audio, podcasts, and we can also start sharing revenue with content creators, which is essential.
Well, shutting down one of our service centers was quite difficult, because it turns out there were, I thought the service centers were redundant, but there were, in fact, a lot of things that were hard-coded to this one server center. And so when we shut it down, we actually, it was quite catastrophic. We lost a lot of functionality, which sort of really rushed to put it back.
Twitter, for sure, I think needs to do a lot more on video. And it's kind of a no-brainer to enable longer video on Twitter, and also enable content creators to make a living with content that they submit to Twitter. So Twitter really needs to give a revenue share to content creators in order for them to make a living creating content and having that content be on Twitter. Well, there are still a few unresolved matters. You've probably read about the question as to whether the number of fake and spam users on the system is less than 5%, as Twitter claims, which I think is probably not most people's experience when using Twitter. So we're still awaiting resolution on that matter, and that is a very significant matter. So we're awaiting resolution on that. And then, of course, there is the question of will the debt portion of the round come together, and then will the shareholders vote in favor? So I think those are the three things that stand in the, that need to be resolved before the transaction can complete.
Do you have any regrets buying Twitter?
I think it was something that needed to be done.
I mean, you said
it's been
earlier
quite
that
difficult, I'd say that, like, the pain level of Twitter has been extremely high. This hasn't been some sort of party. So it's been really quite a stressful situation, for the last several months. Not an easy one. But apart from the pain, so it's been quite painful. But I think at the end of the day, it should have been done. I think, were there many mistakes made along the way? Of course. But all's well that ends well. And so I feel like we're headed to a good place. We're roughly break even. I think we're trending towards being cash flow positive very soon, like literally in a matter of months. The advertisers are returning. I think the quality of recommended tweets has improved significantly, and we've taken a lot of feedback from people that have looked at the open source recommendation algorithm, and we've made a lot of improvements even since that was made open source, and we're going to keep doing that. So overall, I think the trend is very good. At this point, I think we've got a pretty good handle on what makes Twitter work. And we're also doing it with 2 data centers instead of 3. So we used to have 3 data centers. We shut down one of them. So we were actually at roughly two-thirds of the prior compute capability. But we've made so many improvements to the core algorithm. In some cases, we improved the core algorithm by 80%. So the actual CPU usage or computer usage is dramatically less. But the results speak for themselves. The system, despite being at all-time highs of usage, is fast. It's responsive. It's more responsive than it was before the takeover. And we've also added long-form tweets. We've added, you can now post videos up to 2 hours, and soon videos of any length. We're rolling out our subscriber programs, so people can, content creators can actually make a living on Twitter by having some of their content behind a paywall. We open source the algorithm, so there's transparency about what tweets get shown, what content gets shown versus not. I think you say, like, what are you really going to trust? Are you going to trust some sort of black box algorithm from some other site, or are you going to trust the thing that you can actually see and understand? I actually think there's less these days because we've eliminated so many of the bots which were pushing scams and spam. And previous management turned a blind eye to the bots because their bonuses were tied to user growth. And if your compensation is tied to user growth, well, you're not going to look too closely at some of the users. That's part of the problem. So I think we've got less misinformation because we don't have the bot problem that we used to do. And we also have given a lot of attention to community notes, which corrects, with community itself, corrects misinformation. It's been very effective. I mean, it really is quite entertaining. I mean, it's like soap opera, because when I first made the offer, the response was the board adopted a poison pill. So they were like, hell no, you can't buy Twitter. We'd rather die. We'd like chew on cyanide before being bought. That was their initial response.
And then you said, actually, I don't want to buy it.
Yes,
So
and then they said, no, you must buy us. Gun to the head, you have to buy us. I'm like, are you the same people who said you'd rather die than be bored? Doesn't that seem odd? Well, I think those are two good rules. Yeah, don't tweet if you're wasted, or really upset about something. Probably. I mean, a good friend of mine actually had a good suggestion, and it has helped, which is that if you're going to tweet something that maybe is controversial, save it as a draft and look at it the next day and see if you still want to tweet it. And that has been a good rule of thumb.
So, I mean, right now, if you're on Twitter, you'll see a lot of links posted to YouTube and TikTok, and that's because, at least until now, Twitter has not even given them enough video length to post their video, and then they give the content creators no means of monetizing the video. So we're going to change that rapidly at Twitter. It's going to be transformative. But if we can get enough verified users, and we're going to prioritize Twitter search, replies, mentions by verified users first. And then we also, since we're using payment authentication, we're piggybacking on the authentication system of the payment system, and we're also piggybacking off of Apple's authentication system, which is another layer of security. So the net effect will be, over time, that the verified users will pretty much always be at the top of comments and search, and you won't really see, you'll have to scroll far to see the unverified users, which will be the bots and trolls and whatnot. And this is sort of analogous to Google search. Like, if you go to page 8 of Google search, there will be a ton of scams and stuff, call it page 8, page 9, something like that. But the thing is that Google search results are so good for page 1 that you never go to page 8. Twitter has become kind of the de facto town square. It's just really important that people have both the reality and the perception that they are able to speak freely within the bounds of the law. So one of the things that I believe Twitter should do is open source the algorithm and make any changes to people's tweets. If they're emphasized or de-emphasized, that action should be made apparent so anyone can see that action has been taken. So there's no sort of behind-the-scenes manipulation, either algorithmically or manually. In my view, Twitter should match the laws of the country, and really, that there's an obligation to do that. But going beyond that, and having it be unclear who's making what changes to where, having tweets sort of mysteriously be promoted and demoted with no insight into what's going on, having a black box algorithm promote some things and not other things. I think this can be quite dangerous.
So that's a pretty big number. And really, I think you want as much of the world as possible on Twitter. You want to be as inclusive as possible, the broadest demographic. And for that to happen, people must like being on Twitter. So if they're being like harassed or if they're uncomfortable, they're just not going to use Twitter. And they're, so, we have to sort of strike this balance of, allowing people to say what they want to say, but also making people comfortable on Twitter. Or they simply won't use it. It will be, it'll be sort of quite niche. I think there's also a lot that should be done in terms of enhancing the core technology and offerings of Twitter. Like right now, if somebody does, say, a video, like let's say a content creator does a video, then they're going to put that video on YouTube and just put a link to it from Twitter, because they're able to monetize their content on YouTube, but not on Twitter. And I think it's going to be really important if you want people to put the content on Twitter, which we do, then there has to be a mechanism for content creators to monetize that content. And so they could dual post it. They could post it to YouTube and to Twitter. But I think it's crazy right now that content creators will use Twitter to drive traffic to their YouTube video, because that's how they make a living. And that really should be on Twitter.
Yeah, there's just no way to know the number of bots. It's like as unknowable as the human soul, basically.
So
you have no idea what level of witchcraft and alchemy is needed to determine this bot percentage.
have you determined?
I said, why not try calling people? But I haven't got a response. Have you tried calling people or something? Like maybe try
the
that.
Answer? It's not a bot.
No, I don't know. But I think that would be one of the things to do, to say have you tried calling them, as opposed to trying to read the tea leaves here. That's impossible. Obviously you can have an account that looks exactly like a human account, or is being operated where one person is operating 1,000 accounts or something. But that person can only buy one toaster. They're not going to buy 1,000 toasters. So you care about number of unique, real people that are on the system. It's extremely fundamental. And anyone who uses Twitter is well aware that the comment threads are full of spam, scam, and just a lot of fake accounts. So it seems beyond reasonable for Twitter to claim that the number of essentially the number of said another way, the number of real unique humans that you see making comments on a daily basis on Twitter is above 95%. That is what they're claiming. I want to be clear, content moderation policies have not changed at Twitter, and it is not okay to engage in hateful conduct on Twitter. So we have had actually oddly targeted attacks where temporarily people have been able to put some hate speech on Twitter, but then it's been taken down immediately. So now, what I want to try to achieve with this sort of enabling everyone to be payment verified with Twitter Blue is to try to get as many people payment verified as possible. It's only $8 a month, although for some people that were complaining about that, and these are people who pay more than that for their lives.
Scientific knowledge advances in leaps and bounds. The once fanciful realm of science fiction seems to be edging towards reality. And so it's time to forget everything you thought you knew about physics and pack your bags in anticipation, because an interstellar road trip to Proxima b might just be in the works. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, well, it appears that the United States genius Elon Musk might have just unveiled a groundbreaking invention, the light-speed engine. This new technology has been causing quite a stir, leaving everyone wondering what makes it so special and how it actually works. So, join us as we explore everything you need to know about this engine. For thousands of years, humans have looked at the stars at night and wondered if there's more to these twinkling beams of light. From astrologers to the three wise men to the ancient cultures in Africa who based their spirituality on these dots of light. Different people from all over the world have looked up at the stars and tried to make sense of them. Could these stars predict our future? Could they explain where we came from? Or, more importantly, could they be the answer to one of the Earth's biggest mysteries? That is, do aliens exist? And if they do, then where are the aliens? The curiosity has played a vital role in giving birth to one of science's oldest disciplines, astronomy, which is the study of celestial objects and phenomena. However, astronomy is far more than just the science of stars. It is intimately connected to our ideas of ourselves, our purpose and place in the universe. But even that alone doesn't fully encompass what astronomy is all about. Neither does it answer the lingering question of whether or not we can hope to reach distant celestial bodies. Unfortunately, modern science tells us that such a goal is simply impossible without violating the laws of physics. It's no secret that Elon Musk is a man with big dreams. His goal of colonizing Mars and creating Earth's Plan B is without a doubt one of the most exciting projects in the world at the moment. The ambitious CEO's space company SpaceX has also been collaborating with the American space agency NASA for some time now, and it seems like a great partnership destined to revolutionize space exploration and technology. In fact, SpaceX was just awarded the contract to build the next generation of rocket that will take humans back to the moon for the first time in decades. And just in case you're wondering what this rocket is called, it's none other than Starship, a sleek and powerful vessel that's part of a whole series of innovative rockets that SpaceX is working on. With a track record of successfully delivering on their objectives, it's no wonder why everyone is excited to see what Elon Musk and his team will achieve next. However, landing on the moon is one thing, interstellar travel is quite another ballgame. But in order to understand interstellar travel, we'll first need to dive into Proxima b and what it means for interstellar travel. Proxima b is a planet that's been making just as many waves as Mars has in the astronomical community. This is all thanks to its potential as a new home for humanity. According to scientists, Proxima b is a rocky, Earth-sized planet that orbits in the habitable zone of the star Proxima Centauri, which is located just over 4 light-years away from Earth. Now, you might be thinking, surely 4 light-years may not be that far away, right? Well, picture this. If you decide to go with a car, which is not possible to begin with, but let's imagine your car has the ability to move through space with some crazy technology. You'll be driving at a maximum speed non-stop, that is no break to eat or even take a bathroom break for over 30 million years. So, if you thought that 4 light-years didn't sound too far, sorry to burst your bubble. Anyway, as crazy as that distance sounds, if you consider just how big and wide the universe is, 4 light-years is nothing but a drop in the cosmic bucket. And at our present pace, it would take nothing less than 63,000 years to reach the planet. This has led many people and scientists to conclude that it's impossible to reach Proxima b. However, that could all change with NASA's announcement of a rocket engine capable of reaching 99% the speed of light. If NASA's claims are indeed true, this could commence a new era of rapid space travel and exploration. For instance, the fastest spacecraft ever launched is only capable of traveling at 58,000 kilometers per hour. While that's quite fast, moving at this speed would still take us 78,000 years to reach Alpha Centauri, which is the nearest star system close to Earth. And that, you'd agree, is a staggering amount of time to reach our closest neighboring star. The truth is, speed is the language of space, and light speed has long been considered the universe's ultimate limit. And if we really want to explore space and discover new worlds, we'll need a better means of transportation than the ones that are currently at our disposal. Imagine being able to travel at the speed of light, where you could reach the moon in just a fraction of a second. Mars is just a few hours, and other stars in a matter of days or weeks. That's the kind of technology we need to become true pioneers in space exploration. If you're thinking Star Trek or Star Wars kind of speed, then you're on the right track. However, space travel isn't just about speed alone. We have to consider things like the amount of fuel we would need to navigate through the cosmos. Resource management is also a major challenge, and it's a challenge we must overcome if we really want to explore beyond our own solar system. Many scientists believe that a trip to Proxima b would be worth it, seeing as the planet may have liquid water on its surface, which is a key ingredient for the development of life as we know it. While the idea of colonizing Proxima b may seem far-fetched, it's also worth noting that the possibilities of interstellar travel continue to seem more and more possible with each passing day. There's little reason to doubt that SpaceX's Starship will someday be able to make trips to other stars and maybe even to Proxima b. But until then, Elon Musk and his team of engineers have a lot of work in order to pull it off. But if Elon and his team are going to get anywhere close to their dream, they first need to solve the problem of fuel. Currently, most rockets rely on methane as their primary fuel source, but this comes with a number of limitations. The amount of fuel needed to power a rocket is really massive, which means that a lot of the space is taken up just by storing the fuel alone. It's also a difficult challenge to create and load all of that fuel before takeoff. And that's why creating a lightweight engine that can operate at high speeds while using a significant amount of fuel and conserving energy for extended periods is a challenging task. But while the idea of a fuel-free engine is not new, past efforts to develop such an engine have proven to be challenging. Between 1970 and the 2000s, there have been a couple of odd engines that claim to break the laws of thermodynamics. In the 1970s, an American inventor named Robert Cook claimed to have built an engine that converted the spin of a disk into motion. A few decades later, a British man named Roger Scheuer introduced something he called the electromagnetic drive, or EM drive. It supposedly generated thrust by trapping microwaves in a sealed chamber. Cook's engine allegedly converted spinning force into forward motion, and Scheuer's created momentum from microwaves bouncing around. But physics experts couldn't find any evidence that they could actually produce useful work or sustained motion. Like other perpetual motion machines, the engines looked promising but didn't deliver. However, a NASA engineer named David Burns has been working on a groundbreaking engine design that could potentially propel spacecraft at speeds approaching 99% the speed of light, without requiring any conventional propellants. Burns calls his invention the Helix engine, and it's really quite fascinating. Essentially, the engine exploits a flaw in Einstein's theory of relativity by accelerating a loop of ions to nearly the speed of light and adjusting their mass and velocity in accordance with the principles of relativity. The result is a propulsion system that doesn't require any fuel to operate. While the mechanics of the Helix engine are highly complex, the potential implications for space travel are enormous. With this technology, we could use spacecraft propelled into orbit in ways that were once thought impossible, opening up new horizons for space exploration beyond our current capabilities. You see, instead of utilizing a box and ring, Burns suggests utilizing a helix-shaped accelerator to generate a net push in a specified direction. By accelerating ions within the loop to a moderate relativistic speed, their velocities can be varied to change their mass. This engine would operate without any moving parts, except for the ions themselves, which are confined within electric and magnetic fields as they travel through a vacuum line. The engine then generates thrust by moving the ions back and forth in the direction of movement. If you're thinking this sounds familiar, then you're absolutely right. But in order for you to really understand what this means, let's quickly take you back to the Raptor engine. Back in 2016, Elon Musk and a group of NASA scientists introduced the Raptor engines. At the time, it was believed that this new engine would change space travel forever. Using the Raptor engine, Elon Musk would go on to build the tallest rocket ever built by humans. The rocket, which was of course called Starship, stood at an incredible height of 120 meters above the surface. And while its incredible height was a massive achievement, this wasn't the only thing about the ship that caught headlines. The science community especially went nuts when it was discovered that the massive ship was equipped with 33 Raptor engines that can withstand a thrust of up to 500,000 pounds. Despite having that crazy amount of engines in one rocket alone, the Starship was actually lighter than you'd expect. Well, the reason for that is because of the added compartments for fuel that are actually responsible for a rocket's length and weight, and not exactly the size of the engine. But if you remove the thrusters and tanks, you will be left with a small head where the crew stays, which is the most crucial part of the rocket. Anyway, to gain a better understanding of the potential for a light-speed engine, it's important to examine how chemical rockets function. These rockets operate on the basis of Newton's third law of motion, which states that action and reaction forces are equal and opposite. The Falcon 9 space shuttle and Starship are examples of rockets that rely on thrusters, which generate thrust. If you've been wondering what thrust is, well, it refers to the force that propels a craft through the air and is created in a rocket by a propulsion system known as thrusters. Now that we've discussed everything we know about a Raptor engine, let's move back to the elephant in the room, which is the Lightspeed rocket. The Lightspeed rocket relies on the controversial device we mentioned earlier, the EM drive. This drive produces thrust forces in one direction only. The process by which the new Lightspeed engine operates may sound complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. And to better understand this concept, consider the unusual properties of electromagnets when they are cooled to extremely low temperatures. In this state, when an electric current, which is harnessed from solar energy, is applied to the electromagnets, they create a reaction force that is then directed through the nozzle to generate thrust. To simplify this concept even further, imagine stretching and releasing a spiral spring. As it snaps back into place, you feel a thrust that appears to lack an action force. This is exactly how Burn's helical-shaped engine works. By vibrating the ions confined in a loop and alternating their vibration to move back and forth in the direction of travel, the engine generates successful thrust. David Goodwin, the program manager of the U.S. Department of Energy, believes that this method holds more promise than what has been fully understood thus far. Goodwin oversaw a propulsion physics project by NASA in 1990 that aimed to develop a propulsion mechanism that does not require a propellant. Therefore, this concept is not entirely new. If successful, this technology could provide power to send spacecrafts faster and farther than any chemical rocket could ever have achieved. Despite successful tests of the EM drive, critics argue that it is premature to celebrate, as none of the tests have been conducted in a vacuum. According to physicists, particles in quantum vacuum cannot be ionized, which means that they cannot obtain the necessary ion state to generate energy. However, the NASA research team has refuted this claim and conducted successful tests of the EM drive under the conditions that exist in deep space, demonstrating that it can indeed function in a vacuum. According to NASA, the law of conservation of momentum suggests that microwave thrusters appear to work. But even if the EM drive proves viable, there are still drawbacks that must be assessed before it can be utilized for space travel or to achieve the speed of light. Surviving the challenges of re-entry into Earth's atmosphere is a critical consideration for any spacecraft returning from deep space. The intense heat generated by the atmosphere friction can quickly destroy even the hardiest of materials, let alone a fragile vessel. With that in mind, engineers must develop materials that can withstand the high temperatures and pressure that they will encounter during re-entry. Cost is another significant challenge facing the development of spacecraft capable of interstellar travel. From research and development to actual launch, the cost can run into billions of dollars. It takes considerable resources to develop and test the technologies necessary for such an undertaking, and unfortunately, funding for those kinds of projects appear to be limited. However, private companies such as SpaceX are investing heavily in this area, and with government support, it may be possible to overcome this hurdle. As expected, the concept of the EM drive has garnered significant attention and excitement, but it has also faced major skepticism from some scientists. A recent study led by Martin Tajmar from Dresden University of Technology found that the thrust generated by the EM drive may not be coming from the drive itself, but rather from some other electromagnetic interaction. These findings have raised concerns and cast doubt on the viability of the EM drive as a means of propulsion. Despite these challenges, the development of a Lightspeed rocket remains a top priority, and the project requires significant resources, including time, creativity, and scientific expertise. However, the potential benefits of such a breakthrough are enormous. If successful, it would revolutionize space travel, making it more accessible and opening up new possibilities for exploration beyond our solar system. Ultimately, the development of a Lightspeed rocket would be a historic achievement, paving the way for routine space travel and providing a window into the mysteries of our universe. The journey to other planets and beyond would no longer be the domain of a select few, but would be open to all who dare to dream and explore. Fortunately, the benefits of interstellar travel far outweigh the challenges. The potential for scientific discovery and exploration of new worlds is limitless. And the development of spacecraft capable of interstellar travel is crucial for humanity's continued advancement. With continued investment and innovation, the dream of interstellar travel can become a reality. At the very least, the technology would make Elon's dream of a Mars colony easier to achieve. What do you think of interstellar travel and the technology required to make it a reality? Share your thoughts in the comments below.